Have you ever had that burning, just gnawing pain in your stomach? You know the kind. It makes you literally double over. Well, for millions of people, that is the reality of a stomach ulcer. For decades, we all blamed it on stress, maybe too much spicy food. But what if the real culprit was something else? Something microscopic, just hiding out. Today, we are getting into the gutsy truth behind stomach ulcers.
And, Dr. Burke's experience here is just a powerful reminder of how truly debilitating an ulcer can be. This isn't just a bit of indigestion. We're talking about a literal wound inside your body. That kind of intense personal pain, well, that's what drives the search for real answers, not just for patients, but for the scientists who are determined to find a cure.
And this right here is really the core of our story today. The established medical belief was so incredibly strong, it was basically law. To challenge it, well, that would take more than just a little research. It would take a truly revolutionary act. The whole idea that an ulcer was some kind of disease of personality was about to be completely turned on its head.
So, before we get to that groundbreaking discovery, we have to understand what it was up against. For over 100 years, a really powerful myth had the entire medical world in its grip. It was a story all about stress, spice, and acid. This slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? This was the old way of thinking. Doctors would tell patients, it's your lifestyle. You're too stressed, you're eating too much spicy food. And then you had the acid mafia, this influential group of researchers who were absolutely convinced the stomach was its own worst enemy, just creating way too much acid. The biggest problem with this theory? Well, treatments like antacids were just a band-aid. Sure, they soothed the pain for a little while, but the ulcer always came back. They were treating a symptom, not the actual disease.
Just think about this for a second. Your stomach is essentially a pool of powerful acid. I mean, it's strong enough to dissolve metal. So how on earth does it not dissolve itself? The answer is this brilliant system, the mucosal defense. It's like a shield of mucus and other compounds. An ulcer only forms when that shield is broken. So the real question becomes, what could possibly be powerful enough to break through this incredible natural defense?
And this brings us to the hero of our story, Dr. Barry Marshall. He was a young Australian doctor who was just fed up with the old excuses. He was completely convinced there had to be another explanation, and he was willing to do something truly radical to prove it.
I mean, this timeline tells such an incredible story of scientific courage. Dr. Marshall was so convinced that a specific bacteria was the real culprit that he did the unthinkable. He brewed up a concoction of these microbes, and he drank it himself. In less than 2 weeks, he was violently ill. And an endoscopy confirmed everything. His stomach was inflamed, the very beginning of an ulcer. It was dangerous, it was crazy, and ultimately, it was a Nobel Prize-winning experiment.
You really can't overstate how radical this was. The brightest minds in medicine, they didn't just disagree with him. They thought he was a total quack. The very idea that bacteria could survive in the acid bath of the stomach was laughable to them. So his experiment wasn't just about finding a cure, it was a rebellion against dogma. It was a fight for a whole new way of thinking.
So with the old myth totally shattered, the path was finally clear to identify the true culprits. And, as it turns out, there's more than just one. So meet public enemy number 1, Helicobacter pylori, or H. pylori for short. This little corkscrew-shaped bacterium is an absolute master of survival. It literally creates its own little anti-acid bubble around itself, which allows it to drill right through the stomach's protective mucus layer. And once it's nestled safely in the stomach lining, it causes inflammation and damage, and that's what leads to an ulcer. Incredibly, it's been our unwelcome guest for tens of thousands of years. But here is where the story gets even more interesting. This bacteria is incredibly common. We're talking about half the people on Earth are carrying it right now. So why aren't we all suffering from ulcers? Well, the answer is that H. pylori is a key player, for sure, but it almost never acts alone. Other factors have to come into play to turn this very common infection into a painful disease.
The best way to think about it is like a four-pronged attack. First, you've got H. pylori, the initial invader. Second, you have common pain relievers like ibuprofen and aspirin. Those are called NSAIDs, and they can weaken the stomach's defenses. Third, chronic stress. Now, it doesn't cause ulcers directly, but it puts your body into a constant state of fight or flight, which shuts down essential things like repair and digestion. And finally, a diet high in processed foods can rob your body of the antioxidants it needs to protect itself. It's the combination of these factors that creates the perfect storm for an ulcer. Okay, so we've covered the causes. Now let's get into the practical side of things. It's really crucial to know that not all ulcers are created equal. Where the ulcer is located dramatically changes how it feels and, importantly, how it's treated. And as you can see here, location is everything. Duodenal ulcers, which are found in the first part of the small intestine, are way more common than gastric ulcers, which are in the stomach itself. This simple fact has huge implications for your symptoms. Now, this chart is the perfect guide for telling them apart. The biggest clue is how your pain relates to eating. With a gastric ulcer in the stomach, food actually makes the pain worse, so people often avoid eating and they lose weight. But with a duodenal ulcer, food gives you temporary relief. It acts like a buffer. The pain then comes back with a vengeance a few hours later, often waking people up in the middle of the night. And here's one critical difference. Gastric ulcers have a small but real risk of being cancerous, which is why a biopsy is so important. So, after all this talk of pain and bacteria and everything else, here is the absolute best news. Because we now finally understand the true cause of ulcers, we have incredibly powerful and effective ways to treat them. Healing is absolutely possible. And this right here, this is the incredible legacy of Dr. Marshall's discovery. This is a true medical revolution. A disease that once meant a lifetime of pain and often ended in risky surgery can now be completely cured for most people with a simple course of pills. It's just a stunning example of how one big crazy idea can change millions of lives. So, how do doctors actually do it? Well, the modern medical approach is a really clear three-step attack. Step 1, wipe out the H. pylori bacteria using antibiotics. Step 2, reduce stomach acid with medications like proton pump inhibitors. This just creates a healing environment. And step 3, stop taking any drugs like NSAIDs that are making the problem worse. It's a really powerful and effective protocol that gets right to the root of the problem.
And alongside modern medicine, there are also some powerful natural allies you can use to support your body's healing process. Things like cabbage juice, the incredible anti-inflammatory power of turmeric, and all the good bacteria in yogurt can help soothe and repair the gut. Other compounds like chlorophyll, licorice, and zinc carnosine have also been shown to be incredibly helpful in rebuilding that crucial stomach lining.
And that brings us to the end. You see, the story of the stomach ulcer isn't just about medicine. It's a powerful lesson in how science really works. It's about challenging what we think we know and having the courage to pursue a crazy idea. Dr. Marshall literally trusted his gut, and in doing so, he changed the world. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What accepted truth of today will be the myth of tomorrow?